Now that the house was built, Andrew and Katie set about picking their cotton, for they had gotten late and the days had already shortening. The mornings were chilly, so Katie would dress the children in the kitchen by the stove, leaving the door open for warmth. Now, when we get the cotton in, I can get on with the chimney daubing, Andrew promised. After he had paid for the window facings and the smooth flooring boards, there had not been enough left over to buy the glass windows, so Andrew nailed boards over the window openings in the log room and made shutters for the kitchen windows. He had worked that year until the blue eyes were hollow, his face gone. Next year we'll get the glass windows, Katie. I know how you would count it on them. Invigorated by the new house, Katie could not be disheartened. She sang louder than ever in the kitchen, cowpatch and the cowpen and the cotton patch. How on earth do you have energy? You can say that line again. Okay. Okay, all right. Next year we'll get the glass windows, Katie. I know how you counted on them. Invigorated by the new house, Katie could not be disheartened. She sang louder than ever in the kitchen, the cowpen, or the cotton patch. How in thunder do you have energy left for singing? Andrew asked one day. Well, I guess I just got a song inside me that's got to come out, Katie said as she pulled the fluffy inside of a cotton burr that had come off the brittle stalk. But I'm going to sit by the fire this winter and rest and rest. Got a whole bunch of papers saved up that Bertha gave me to read, some with continued stories, and there's some animal stories about Foxy Reynolds and Br'er Rabbit that I can read to the children. If I ever get that blamed chimney daubed, I'm going hunting, Andrew promised himself. Elsie and Inez were completely mystified by the chimney daubing, and they were no better informed that when Andrew had built a frame of wood slats from the chimney all the way up the sides of the log house. That's the tallest pin I ever saw. Well, looks like he's just playing stiff to me, Elsie said. Andrew made another quick trip to the swamp for some more Spanish moss, but they could not go with him. Katie was busy shelling dry peas and laying them in the sun to kill the weevils. Elsie shelled her lapful, but Inez could not keep at it long for a time. The pea hills were scratchy, always infested with weevils that crawled up her arms. She would shell a few peas and then run outside to stare up at the wood frame of the future chimney or check to see if a hen had laid. Next, you're going like the grasshopper this winter. You'll have nothing to eat. You just have to dance and sing and starve, won't you, Mama? Katie smiled. This is pretty little Elsie. I never was little, Elsie retorted. At least I don't remember it. On the day of the chimney daubing, neighbors began to arrive by daylight. The whole front yard was full of men and boys. They could not believe the activity going on. The men dug a hole in the ground, shoveled in red clay, poured in a little water, threw in strings of Spanish moss, and then all the men, as well as the boys, got down on their hands and knees and started playing in the mess. Mama! Inez yelled. They're all making mud pies. Katie came and looked in the porch and laughed. Honey, they're not really playing. They're making mud cats to stack around the chimney slats that Daddy built. That's how you daub a chimney. Two big boys ran carrying huge balls of mud with moss strings hanging out of them and handed them up to Andrew. They were stacking them, the mud cuts, around the base of the slats, gradually working upward with the soft balls of mud. Everyone was laughing, throwing mud, stomping in the oozing clay and moss. Inez stood on the porch all morning and watched them work. Elsie watched for a while, but went in the house to discuss. That's the biggest mess I ever saw, she said. The next morning, Andrew got up and oiled his gun and counted out his bullets. They were probably enough in the jar to last him the whole season, for he shot only ducks and squirrels, which they ate, or an occasional hawk that got their chickens, and he was a sharp marksman. Get the pot to boiling, Katie, he told her. We're going to have squirrel gumbo tonight. Well, when the windows boarded it all in the log room, the new house was as dark as the old house had been, and Katie used the kerosene lamp only to prepare meals in the kitchen, for the oil was an expensive price at 15 cents a gallon. Andrew had not had time to cut oak and ash wood to burn in the fireplace, so they mostly burned pine knots while Katie and the children foraged in the woods nearby. Katie complained a little about the pine knots making a lot of smut and did not get the stove heated properly before they burned out. But oozing rosin and smelling of turpentine, the fuel burned brightly in the fireplace, giving both heat and light. In the evenings, Andrew and the children shelled corn to take to mill, to grind into grits and cornmeal, while Katie read to them by firelight. Every night she read a chapter of a continued story, and then she read a short story about funny rabbits and foxes that could talk and sing and smoke corn cob pipes. She always read a story from the Blue Book, which contained a collection of stories from the Bible about other talking animals, snakes and mews, and little David felling the giant Goliath with his slingshot and stones from a brook. One morning, when Inez woke up, she could hear Andrew breaking ice in the water bucket in the kitchen. He already had a fire blazing in the fireplace, and the pine knots snapped and crackled as they burned. But despite this ordinary noises, it seemed unusually quiet. It was daylight outside. Inez could tell because she could see the gray sky through the rafter ridges. She followed the dim shaft of light down to the beam that stretched all the way to the room. Then she sat up and looked harder. The beam was fuzzy white on top, and when she put her hand out on top of her cover, it sang into soft, cold whispers. "Daddy, Daddy, the bed's got a beard!" Andrew came through the doorway laughing. "Your bed is covered in snow. It shifted from the roof ridge and shingles. As soon as I get the house warm, you have to get up so I can shake the bed covers before the snow melts and soaks in." "Snow?" Katie said, and went back laughing. "I feel like a polar bear, sleeping in snow and not even cold." The clouds cleared that day, but it was bitter cold. Katie stuffed all the rags and papers she could find in the cracks of the logs. "I wish we had daubed the chinks in these logs with mudcats too. I've done that." "Sure would have been a mess," Elsa reminded her. "Well, maybe we can get the house sealed on the inside next winter and put in a loft, as well as getting those windows," Andrew promised. I wanted to share these chapters with you so that you could understand and really believe how life was some years ago. And in doing that, you can appreciate what you have today. If you'd like to see what Andrew did to get the windows, you can look to the link below and find out.